All right, Nick, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide with head coach Kalen DeBoer. This team getting into their first spring camp. We're seeing guys on the field. We're getting some vibes of who's going to be the next great one to step up, because we know Alabama is turning over players left and right, heading to the NFL. I think there's some really interesting stuff going on in this latest piece we have about Alabama. Let's get into the article and we talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, is over on TDA, or Touchdown Alabama. It says Caleb Odum, a five-star freshman, continues to be one of the coaches and players cannot keep their eyes off of. The native Georgian is making it look easy at 6'5", executing routes, possessing good speed, and catching passes. Jaleel Hurley, a redshirt freshman cornerback, has defended Lawson, Henderson, and Bernard in practice, but he stated Wednesday that Odum gives the secondary problems with his size. He said, "I ain't gonna lie, Caleb Odum, he can play," Hurley said. "He can play." Hurley is impressed with everyone in the receiver room, but Odum can be a real baller in this offense. Now, Nick, I think this is a great side for Alabama. They need some offensive weapons to step up. They need Jalen Milroe to step up and make this offense execute at a really high level. But I think having a guy 6'5" like Odum is going to be a real key if he is able to take the next step. I'm curious what your thoughts are, but before we get to you, Nick, Alabama fans, in the comment section below, who are you looking at other than the receiver room at spring camp to see if they are ready to take the next step? Let us know what positions you think are on the verge of being great in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the latest out of Alabama?
I mean, this is absolutely spectacular news. Obviously, Odom tight end or a tight end prospect switched to wide receiver a few weeks ago. The fact that he's off to a strong start in a newer position is obviously a great sign. But what it means for Alabama is one heck of a scheme fit. It's a perfect scheme fit. If you look at what Washington did last year under Kalen DeBoer, they threw more vertical 50-50 balls where they relied on the receivers to win those jump balls more than any other program in the country, and they did it better than any other program in the country. And Odom can certainly fit into that, obviously, as part of this new Kalen DeBoer Alabama offense. Then you look at the fact that Jalen Milroe has a very pretty deep ball. He gives his receivers a chance. So in terms of quarterback scheme fit, it makes a lot of sense. And now you have the perfect young receiving weapon in Odom to fit in perfectly to what that scheme and the quarterback will be doing for the Crimson Tide in the future. This is one of these weird situations where just everything just aligns perfectly, where you have the perfect talent come in at the perfect time. Again, transition era, right? Freshmen are going to get more opportunities. It happens anytime you have a new coaching staff come in. You've got a quarterback whose skill set matches with receivers. You got a scheme fit as well. It seems like the stars are aligning perfectly for Caleb Odom, and the fact that he's off to such a strong start makes me think he's going to be a massive playmaker for the Tide starting day one, going through the entire regular season. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we look back at the end of the 2024 campaign and Caleb Odom leads the team in maybe receiving yards, maybe in receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to have that kind of impact. And again, I think this is going to be the element of Kalen DeBoer, his recruiting strategy, his offense that was missing a little bit from Alabama over the past few years. Even their great era of wide receivers, of course, you look at the Ruggses, you look at the Waddles, the Devontae Smiths, even you go back to the Amari Coopers and Julio Jones. It wasn't that they were strictly yards after catch guys, of course, but a lot of it was yards after catch, timing, catch a quick slant, run for 50, 60 yards. Alabama's transitioning to the Kalen DeBoer offense, much more in terms of volume, direct down the field, deep threats. This is a guy in Caleb Odom who this is literally what he can do with his physical talents. He did it at a high level in high school as well. I think we're seeing the stars align perfectly for Caleb Odom, and I think he's going to have a massive season and a great career for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, Nick, and this is a guy coming into Alabama who I think's really talented. He borders on that fringe of like a true, big body guy. Could be a tight end, could be a wide receiver, but I think he's so athletic, he's leaning more towards the tight end position. But this is a guy who I think is just a pure receiving threat for Alabama. It's like you said, this is a team that has a lot of talent on it, and it's really interesting because Alabama has a great defense. And hearing the defense come in and talk just about how Odom is already giving them problems out on the offensive side of the ball, I think this just shows this guy is going to be a big-time threat at that 6'5", 215 pounds, probably bulk up just a little bit, but this guy's going to be a monster target in the red zone. This guy's going to be a monster target for jump balls, 50-50 balls. They talk about him being a fluid runner, very good in open space. He just really seems like the perfect big body receiving threat. So I think a guy like Odom really is going to bring a lot to this Alabama team that I think could use somebody like him. I think in the past, Alabama's had really great receiving type tight ends that they've used very successfully. And I think getting a guy like Odom in the mix is going to be a big step forward for this offense, who I would say last season started out a little bit slow, but worked their way on, coming on strong at the end of the season. But I think Odom is going to help them get out to a hot start, getting a young, new, big body receiving target out on the field. Going to be a real security blanket type player for Jalen Milroe.